Okay, I just realized I'm talking to myself. Good evening, everybody. It's Mike. It's April 11th, and I had my microphone on mute for the first minute. I apologize for that. This is our subscriber webinar. As always, this night's about you. There are one or two things I'd like to talk to you guys about tonight. If you have questions, please ask them here. Anything you want to go over in detail, we can talk about. The one thing that is on my mind tonight, guys, is the word patience. And that's because a bunch of you reached out to me directly, very worried about a market sell-off here. And I get that. I understand why you would feel that way, and I'm okay with that. I think what I want to point out to you is, though, on Monday morning we did the setup video and the live session, and we talked about how the market had gotten a little bit ahead of itself, right? I said to you the market was a little hot here. It was a little extended. It was a little hot. And when you learn to recognize those little things, you learn to recognize that the market sometimes needs to do what it's done this week. And when you look at this chart, on the SPY, right, we haven't even touched the 8-day. All we've done is just consolidated here in the upper area and flagging, right? And we have earnings starting tomorrow. So can we sell off from here? And the honest question is, of course we can, right? Markets can always sell off. We never know why they are or they're not. But there's a strong bid under this market. What we did this week is we got hot. Notice RSI hit 70. We pulled off of that. The put to call was hot. There was a lot of reasons for us to rest here for a couple of days. What I find extremely encouraging about this market right now, and I will continue to point at this for a while, is when you look at this gap here, right? We haven't violated it. We haven't even tested it. We haven't even come down and tested it yet. That shows what I consider to be a lot of strength in a stock market, right? So when you see a name like this, that's good. You want to stay long. So, the word here is patience. Sometimes markets need to do it. Last week was a very good week, right? This week has been a very, very tough week, although the market's been giving us things to do. We've all found a couple of things to do here and there throughout the way. So, when we come here to our charts and everything, right now Disney's in the middle of their investor call. Obviously, it's not tracking well. I've picked up a couple snippets from it. It's obviously, not enough maybe to move the needle here, right? And what I mean by that is, look how far off the lows it came. Not a surprise. So, when we look at everything going on and we start earnings tomorrow, we'll see what the banks start delivering tomorrow. If the banks are good tomorrow, the SPY and the IWM are going to fly. And that's what to watch for. The best way to get out of this chop, and I keep preaching this to you guys, is to either trade small, don't take trades, or go out in time. Buy time to get out of the chop. And what that means is be extra careful with weeklies and stuff like this, unless you're going to be in and out, right? If you're going to be like me at times when I'm in and out of a trade and I can get in and out of it at a heartbeat, you're fine. But if you're looking to put a trade on and sit in it, weeklies is not the place to be right now. You want time. The more time you have, the little bit better. And I hope that makes sense to you guys, because time is your friend. Time gives you the ability to adjust, let the market do what it wants. Apple here. A lot of people keep asking me about Apple. Okay. Well, what did Apple do? Beautiful chart, right? This is a pattern everybody should know. This pop up comes down. Look how it held the 8-day, curled back up, and then finally popped up on this day, right? Beautiful thing. Lots of flow. If you don't know what this candle is, this candle is a reversal candle, right? And I know I go over this a lot, and I know some of you are like, Mike, how many times are you going to go over this? And others of you, maybe not know. But this here is a hammer reversal candle. We traded above this candle, failed, reversed, and we made a hammer down. Okay? Yesterday, we got follow through, right? And then we made a hammer candle up. right? That's this candle right here. You guys all see how clear that is? And today you got basically an inside candle, basically just a do nothing candle. But if you're looking at this chart, and this is what I'm going to talk about being patient and getting rid of the noise. Is there anything on this chart that scares you? Have we violated or even touched the 8-day moving average yet? Right? The answer is no. Right? You look at this chart. Here's the 8-day, the blue line, and I like the 8-day moving average. We haven't touched it yet. Right? We're hanging fine up here so far. So if you're not in weekly options, you're probably feeling okay. If you're in weekly options, you're probably getting your butt kicked. And I hope that makes sense to you guys, because weekly options are doing what? Do you guys, everybody knows about this, but weekly options have a rapid rate of decay. So if you ever look at options on the decay, it's a bell curve. And they basically accelerate to zero quickly into the end as time goes down. So if this is expiration day, remember any option at 4 p.m. tomorrow that's not in the money goes to zero. So the last week is accelerated decay, very, very, very rapid, which makes things tough. Now, what we love about options in the last day or so is they have huge potential in lottos because they're cheap. So one of the things I talked to you guys today about was lottos for tomorrow, right? And sometimes, depending how I feel, I bring them up or I don't. Now, I brought up three. I brought up Roku, I brought up Restoration Hardware, and I brought up Boeing. I jumped on Boeing. I'm long tomorrow's 375 calls. So I don't know where Boeing's going to open tomorrow. So the first thing I want to say to you is what I'm about to show you is just stupidity. Does that make sense? But I paid, what did I pay for this? Help me out here. I paid 59 cents for this 375 call, right? It's already up now 20 cents almost, not quite. Right before at the close. Right now, if it was to open at 372, it would probably be worth tomorrow on the open about $1.30. Does that make sense? And the way I do that is just very, very quick little moving back and forth between here. So I'd have a double, almost a double on my hands. If it opens higher, right, it moves into the money, you let it run, and you see what you can do, and you put a stop in place, right? This thing could take off. If Boeing was to move to like 360 tomorrow, let's say, 380 tomorrow, right? This thing would be worth somewhere up around $8. Why do we like lottos? Lottos are cheap, and you can make a lot on them at times. The trick to lottos, guys, is you always have to be willing to lose your investment. So it doesn't matter what amount you're willing to lose, right? Whether it's $59 or $590, but you have to be willing to accept that if tomorrow morning the market opens and Boeing's down 20 and those options are zero, you're okay with it, right? That doesn't mean you have to let them go to zero. What that means is you have to be willing to accept that if for whatever reason the market's down and Boeing's down 20 tomorrow and these are zero, you've lost. But that doesn't mean that you can't put a stop in on the open and say, I'm not letting it go to zero, right? You don't have to let it go to zero. All right, so we talked about Boeing. The other ones we talked about today were Restoration Hardware. Now, why Restoration Hardware? Well, I wasn't even looking at Restoration Hardware. And then we got late afternoon sweeper, right? Late afternoon sweeper that came in and tagged the weekly, where are they? Here they are, right? I posted this order for you guys. Very unusual to get weekly options and Restoration Hardware without earnings, right? Came in and tagged those. What also was good about that, and again, I want to show this to you. right? This is the end of the day. Look at this now. See that? Almost 1,150 of these, and they're opening on the ask, right? So we know we have something. Now, when you come to a chart, and this is where I like to put technicals and option flow together, right? What do you have here? What did Restoration Hardware do? What is this? This is a gap, right? So it's got a big hole in this chart. They bought the weekly 120s, and they're trying to see if they can get a push. Now, what happens at 120? The one thing to be aware of at 120 is what? See the red line? That's the 21-day moving average. So that will be resistance 1 tomorrow. We'll call that R1. Make sense? If it's really strong and it bounces through that, it could move all the way up tomorrow if it wants to. I'm not saying it will, to 129.18, the 100-day. Or let's just call it 128. 128 would be R2. So if I was playing this tomorrow, and if I do grab it on the open tomorrow, at 120, I would sell a bunch and leave a runner. You guys understand by a runner, right? It means I've taken most of my profits. I have a stop in place so it can no longer go red on what's left, and I'm hoping to get the move up. Now, they may or may not come and stop me out, but that's what I'm looking for, right? So, you can do that. You can even do it with 2 options, right? 2 options. These things were not expensive. They were a buck. I'm sorry. Where are they? They were 45 cents each at the time. Let's say you got 50 of them. You put $100 at risk. Let's say it goes to 120. You're probably up. You're doubled. You take half. You take $50 in profit. You put a stop in at 60, so you can't get a losing trade on it, and you let it go. And I mean, that's something I think, guys, you have to learn to do, especially in this market. You have to manage your risk. You have to watch it. This market, intraday, is nasty. Eventually this will change, but right now it's just how it's trading. So, for me, it's trying to manage your risk, trying to be patient, trying to make trades work. When I look at the trades that have worked really well for me lately, it's been the ones where I bought time and ignored them. Twitter, I finally took it off yesterday, the last of it. That was a beautiful trade, right? Okay, BABA, over 100% on that trade. A nice trade, took that off 2 days ago into that candle here. Okay, again, nice trade. Doesn't mean I won't go back to it, but now I have it. It's easy for me to go back, right? And so things look pretty good here at this point in terms of the market and stuff. Does that mean we can't pull it in? Sure we can. And honestly, I would tell you that a quick dip down all the way here to 284 would do the market a hell of a lot of good. Nobody wants to hear that. And I get it. Nobody wants to hear a pullback, right? Everybody wants the markets to go up every day. But markets don't always go up. Sometimes they go sideways. So earnings season kicks off starting tomorrow, right? We have JP Morgan and we have Wells Fargo. And then next week starts it all. And you guys know earnings flow. So one thing you guys all need to be aware of, I try my best to always let you know flow that I believe is earnings, but I don't know every earnings date in my head, guys. I wish I did. I wish I was that good. I don't, I'm not Sheldon Cooper, right? I don't have an eidetic memory, but I try to make sure you guys are aware of what's going on. I post earnings every day once we get into earnings season, so you know what's available and what's coming, and I go over it the week before, so you know what's going on. What else did I do today? I took a 1 lotto on Lyft, a put. Lyft's down here a little bit pre-market on the Uber IPO. I don't see this trade. I don't see this company working right now. I'm not going to let this go too far. If it bounces hard, I'll get out of it. But I'd like to try to do more shorts, and I haven't been doing a lot of shorts. And people keep saying, Mike, why aren't you doing shorts? Well, when I think we're in a raging bull market, I very rarely want to do shorts, just so you know. What questions do you guys have that I may not have answered tonight or gone over? I encourage you to try to look for longs in this market, names you want. Reach out to me at any time. Ask me any questions. You'll get very quick responses. You know, today was one of the first days we didn't have any momentum flow, right? And you know, we look at the flow today, and honestly, I didn't love any of this today. Today's one of those days where I'll tell you this flow, I didn't really love it. The Hoya has me in a little bit of interest. Caesar, you know, I love Caesar, but I can't add any more right now. Well, I can, but I won't. If you're not in Caesar yet, the trade I'm in, other than common, I have a metric ton of common, are the January 12s. And everybody keeps saying, well, I want to go to next week's and get these Caesar calls. I'm in the Caesar in the January 12s. And again, the reason is I believe a buyout's coming. I believe it'll be north of 13. And I don't want to get caught up in the Dale. Look at the volume today, by the way, on this. I don't want to get caught up in the games. Does that make sense? So by going out to January, it's now a shoot and forget, right? If we come in Monday morning, and I am not saying we're going to have a buyout on Monday morning, you know, I'll be ecstatic. But I'm not going to looking for it. I'm not worrying about it. It'll come when it's ready. And I think that's the thing to say. So, guys, what other questions can I answer for you tonight? Is there anything else you'd like me to go over? Any questions you have about the flow or how it comes in? I try to comment on the good stuff. I use the hashtag flow so you guys can see stuff that I think is the best. And I also keep this window up when I'm up there so you guys can see what's going on here as well. Anything, guys? You guys are quiet. All right. If you guys don't have anything, then I'm going to go out. I'm going to rest. I'm not worried about the markets here tonight. Only reason I was paying attention tonight because of Disney. I have an interest in seeing what Disney did. Their investor presentation goes on for another 2 hours yet, so we may get something else out of it at the end of the day. And you know, I encourage you guys just to ask questions. There's things to do, and go from there. Appreciate you guys being with me. I'll see you guys first thing tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful night. Get some rest. Take care, everybody.